Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Shuffle Music Reviews and Retrospectives from a gracelessly aging millennial. My name's Keaton, and I am back to count down the top five albums of 1988, Volume 3 in a series, starting with my top five of 1986, the year I was born. Up through the present day, that's the goal of this series. And so we are on 1988. Took a while to do this one because 88, in my opinion, a stronger year on balance than 1987. 1988, you're starting to really turn the corner from the sort of synth slop 80s sound into the more 90s alternative world in terms of rock. Lot going on this year, a whole lot going on this year in terms of hip hop and rap. And the metal world is sort of holding down the fort in terms of the hard rock stuff. And so this sounds less like the 80s than 87, and 89 will sound less like the 80s than 88. And so these lists, in my opinion, are going to start to get more interesting over the next couple of years. But 88, a very strong year. There were really seven albums this year that I considered ranking in the top five. I have 10 picks today, so it'll be five ranked and then five honorable mentions. That's how crowded this was. And what made me ultimately settle on the top five being what they are is the fact that they are ranked pretty closely together. I should say rated pretty closely together. And that depending on my mood and depending on what I'm into at any given time, really any of these albums are good enough to rank number one. I like all of these quite a bit. It was not a struggle finding something that I could rave about and recommend to you. So, without further ado, let's get started with the top five albums of 1988. Number five in the countdown, speaking of the metal world, is Operation Mindcrime by Queensryche. This was a fantastic album. It was their third studio album. It's a concept album, which tells the story of a heroin addict who becomes radicalized by the times and recruited into a revolutionary group, which then brainwashes him into doing very bad things for them. Queensryche actually took this album on the road. They performed it essentially as a rock opera on their 1990 tour, going as far as to bring Pamela Moore, who plays Sister Mary on the album. They brought her on the road with them, and she, sings in character on the roadshow version of the performance that they brought on tour with them. They also had video and animation accompanying the music. They really went all out with this as a concept album and then as a live production. I'm generally not huge on concept albums, but this one really works. And it works because it's so musically compelling. Jeff Tate's vocals on this are terrific. There's also some really great songs that just work as standalone tracks and singles. So much so that, much like a great story, you really do kind of hang on every track. Each song leaves you wanting more and leaves you looking forward to the next song. It really does have a sort of narrative momentum in that way. It totally works. I mean, Revolution Calling is a great song. I Don't Believe in Love, it's a great song. And they're also compact enough to work as singles. Both of those were released as singles. And then on the other side, you have longer tunes like the epic 11-minute Sister Mary Suite. Great tune as well. And so this was just a really fun listen. The playing is terrific. The vocals are terrific. The songwriting is very, very strong with some really great sort of singles, sort of highlights. Eyes of a Stranger, the last track on the album, is very strong as well. And as a concept album, it's really cool. Like I said, each track leaves you wanting more. And so it has a real flow to it. It's very easy to just listen to in one shot. So Queensryche, Operation Mindcrime is number five. One theme on this list is just about all of these albums are sort of dissident and political in nature. Four of them very much so. So that's a little hint moving forward. But for album number 4 on the list, we stay in the metal world with Metallica's And Justice for All. I noticed myself going back to the metal genre a lot on these first three lists for these first 3 years that I'm doing. That has much more to do with the fact that we are in 80s synth-slop hell than me being this big metalhead. I'm not a metalhead. I'm not an enthusiast of the genre. I like good metal just like I like good bluegrass or I like good rap or I like good jazz. One of the reasons why this project is called The Shuffle is because I have extremely diverse taste in music. I will listen to just about anything if it's good. There are only two genres of music which I actively dislike and discriminate against, and that's opera and polka. I don't have the patience for either of those two genres. I'm not interested in them. Luckily, they don't come up very much in a show like this. But besides that, yeah, great metal is great. Great bluegrass is great. Great Irish music is great. Great reggae is great. I'll listen to just about anything if it's good. And even though I'm not a metal enthusiast, I very, very much prefer it to a lot of the synth-dominated 80s sound that really is so prevalent throughout this decade. So my first few lists, I have quite a bit of metal on them. That's not going to be the case so much as we move on through the years. Not that it will disappear. They will certainly, the genre will certainly represent at times. But not quite as much as in these first few years, because this was really some of the only great music being made during the 1980s. Not the only, but some of it. Some of the best, in my view, obviously. Metallica's And Justice for All is a great, great album. It's one that we're really kind of lucky exists. It's kind of a miracle that this album got made for two reasons. Number one, this was their first album with bassist Jason Newsted, who joined the band following the death of their bass player Cliff Burton, who actually died in Sweden after a bus crash while touring for Master of Puppets. Tragic death. He was only 24 years old. So that was pretty horrible and something to deal with. And given the intricacies of Metallica's music, it's not exactly easy to find a replacement as soon as they did, although this album is infamous for not having much bass in it, and I think that is a reason why. But I'll get to that in a moment. But the second thing that makes this album really cool and really special is that it came after their big breakthrough, iconic release, Master of Puppets. And a lot of times when bands have a super successful album, especially if it's like their second or third, they really seize on the opportunity to cash in and go super mainstream and super huge and super chart oriented in a way that Metallica would do on the Black Album in 91, but not yet. They were able to fit this one in between Master of Puppets and the Black Album, and this album is really a doubling down on Master of Puppets. It's bigger, it's darker, it's meaner, it's sadder, it's nastier, it's longer. It really takes Master of Puppets and expands upon it. Not to say it's a better album. I don't think it is a better album, but it is very, very strong. And when you look, there are some similarities between this and Master of Puppets. Master of Puppets opens with Battery, fast-paced thrasher. This opens with Blackens, which is, again, an even meaner and even darker and even bleaker version of Battery. Like Master of Puppets, the title track comes second on this album, and Justice for All, great title track. Again, just a bigger version of Master of Puppets, and Justice for All runs almost 10 minutes. Master of Puppets runs about 8 minutes. The songs here are long, they're proggy, the vocals are great, particularly on One, which was the big single. One, sort of a very, very prog metal-oriented song. And this brings me to a lot of the criticisms that some people had of the album. It was criticized for its sort of thin and tinny production, and of course the lack of bass sound. The bass was almost entirely omitted from the mix here. And yeah, the production is dry. The drum sound is a little thin, but you know what? It just doesn't bother me. I notice it, but it doesn't bother me. Well, when I used to do filmmaking as a young guy, my cinematographer, who was kind of my mentor, when he was editing a scene or something and we were watching it back and we noticed a certain flaw, he would say sometimes, it doesn't bother me. Like, yeah, maybe that could be a little better. Maybe that's a little fucked up, but it just doesn't bother me. It doesn't take me out of the film. And the production here, not only does it not bother me, I think given the bleakness and the starkness of the material, it kind of works. It kind of works. The rhythms are so cool. The guitar and drum playing is so tight and precise that it just works. Take a song like One, where the second half of it is where it gets into that really thrashy, sort of syncopated rhythms. The guitar and the drums are just perfectly in sync there. You really don't need more sound. You really don't need more sound. I don't miss the bass guitar there, really. It sounds really good for what it is. It's got a crunchiness and a harshness and an aggressiveness that I think comes together just fine. Could you have used more bass guitar? Yeah, maybe. But for what it is, I think this album works all the way through. Great songs here. Like I said, we talked about Blackened a little bit and Justice for All. Eye of the Beholder, One, Harvester of Sorrow, great. To Live is to Die, another 10-minute epic. Their longest album to date. They would come out with longer albums later on in their discography, but to date, this was in a way, their most ambitious project yet. And we're lucky we got it after Master of Puppets. They could have just gone commercial right then and there. And they didn't. Instead, we got this really special, in my opinion, work of art, capping off one of the best 3 album runs in all of rock music. Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and Justice for All. That is what you call a great stretch. All right, moving on to number 3. We're going to move out of the metal world now into the birth of a genre, or at the very least, the birth of a subgenre. And I am talking about Jane's Addiction's Nothing Shocking. Notice I had to black out some nudity there for YouTube. You could still get in trouble for that, even on a music show. But Jane's Addiction really birthed the alternative rock genre, in my opinion, with this album. There are times, maybe it's because I grew up in the 90s and there was a lot of this alternative music out there. Now pushing 40, there are times when I just have a jonesing for that 90s alternative sort of grunge, but not quite grunge. The same effect on the guitar, but a little bigger than grunge, a little more anthemic than grunge. And this just hits the spot every time. It's an album I go back to a lot for that reason, especially when I'm in the mood for that 90s alternative sound. This delivers it 2 years ahead of schedule. This was a hugely influential album in pulling us out of the 80s rock world and into the 90s rock world. Hugely important in that way. Dave Navarro on guitar, Eric Avery on bass, Stephen Perkins on the drums. The drums are terrific sounding on this album. Not only does Perkins play them beautifully, they are recorded so well. They are booming and anthemic, yet tight and precise at the same time. That's a tough balance to sort of strike. On the last entry on the list here, number 4, Injustice for All, the drums do sound a little tinny and a little harsh on that Metallica album, which was what they were going for. So I don't hold it against them too much. But on this album, the drums just sound gorgeous, and it mixes so well with the guitar and the bass. You can hear all of the instruments and all of their glory, and it's just a really special album sonically. Up the Beach is a terrific opener, instrumental opener, climbing up and down those arpeggios and those scales. Had a Dad, a real rocker, Standing in the Shower Thinking. I love that song. Mountain Song. Those are all great songs. My only real quibble with this album is, and this is very nerdy, but I think the track list is a little awkwardly laid out. Ted Just Admit It and Summertime Rolls. Those are both good songs. But they're both kind of slow and long and jammy, and they're placed kind of right in the middle of the album. Ted Just Admitted is over 7 minutes. Summertime Rolls just over 6 minutes. The way they're placed in the album just kind of slows it down a little bit. I would like to see some of those fast rockers oriented right after each other to sort of build some momentum. Not a huge deal, especially on CD when you can skip around to your liking. But if we're nitpicking, that would be my biggest criticism of the album. Like a song like Jane Says, one of the great singles, that should have been moved up. That should have been further towards the top of the track list. Instead, it's buried toward the end at number 9. But that's a great song. Idiots Rule. Great song. And what do we get on Idiots Rule? We get a horn section on this 90s grungy, rocky alternative album. We get a horn section with trumpet playing by who? By Flea. Yes, Flea, the bass player of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, makes a cameo on the horns in this album. Idiots Rule is such a fun song. The album is so much fun. The sound, like I said, really gave birth to a new subgenre of rock music, and it is just beautifully recorded. The sound is fantastic. A lot of the songs are super fun, and so I think it is just an absolute delight. I love Nothing Shocking by Jane's Addiction. Number 2 is a real change of pace. Number 2 is Workers' Playtime, which is an album by UK songwriter Billy Bragg. I bought this album, had to be 2005 or something like that. And it's so great to listen to. It's just a straightforward singer-songwriter album, just piano, guitar tunes with great lyrics, great melodies, and great vocals. I must listen to this album twice a year, every year. This album has really never been out of my rotation in the approximately 20 years that I've had it. It's that good. It's that infectious. It's that memorable. The songs are that singable. And as you can see from the cover, this is kind of a protest album. Billy Bragg, known for his left-wing politics and his love songs. And as you can tell from the title here, Workers' Playtime, this kind of leans a little more into the love songs, but there are some great protest songs on here. His politics do come through in every album that he has put out. If you notice right below the title, it says capitalism is killing music. When Billy Bragg released this album, he would put specific region and format sticker pricing on the album, meaning pay no more than this amount. So here's from a Redditor who had one of the original releases, one of the original presses, because they took these off in subsequent re-releases and reprintings, obviously. But he would print on the cover art, pay no more than £4.99 in the UK, right, for example. So he kind of practiced what he preached in that way. But yeah, these are just great songs. She's Got a New Spell, the opener, great little ditty there. Must I Paint You a Picture is a beautiful love ballad, really terrific. And then Tender Comrade, both a love song and a protest song. That's track 3. That is sung a cappella. So a bold choice, but it works. He sings it really well. The thing that you should know going into this is that his voice may be an acquired taste if you are distracted by very thick British accents. He sings with a very thick English accent, and that could be distracting for some people upon the first couple listens. Maybe an acquired taste, but you'll get used to it, don't worry, and you'll love it. The Price I Pay is a great piano ballad, great love song there. Rotting on Remand, that's one of the more straightforward protest songs on this album. One of the key tracks, great first verse there. I stood before the judge that day as he refused me bail, and I knew that I would spend my time awaiting trial in jail. I said there is no justice as they led me out the door, and the judge said, this isn't a court of justice, son. This is a court of law. And his British accent is so thick that he makes the words door and law rhyme, even though they don't officially rhyme. That's how thick his accent is. So that actually sounds a lot better when he sings it than when I say it. And then the last track on here is a key track too, Waiting for the Great Leap Forwards. This sort of rousing anthemic tribute to the Soviet Union, sung, of course, a year before the Berlin Wall would fall. And so, that is sort of a bittersweet, sort of unofficial eulogy of sorts to the revolution's great setback. But it's such a great song. It's just a rousing sing along number. Great way to close the album. This is just like I said, nothing too complicated here. Just very straightforward playing, great songwriting, and this is real comfort food for me. I have enjoyed this album very much for the past 20 years. I found myself always going back to it, and just about always, assuming I have the time, playing it straight through from front to back. There are no skip tracks here. Everything on this album is like butter. Really good. All right, that brings us to number one, the number one album of 1988. Like I said, I like all of these albums enough that they could all be number one for me, but you have to give the top prize to something. And to me, there is no album this year that has the weight and the gravitas and the grandiosity and the boldness and really just the revolutionary essence of Public Enemy's It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back. Like I said, this was a monumental year for hip hop. I know we focus more on the rock and the metal stuff, but in addition to this one, you also had NWA Straight Outta Compton this year, EPDM with Strictly Business, Straight Out the Jungle by the Jungle Brothers, and then you had Eric B. and Rakim with Follow the Leader. So a lot of great hip-hop music this year, but nothing, in my opinion, comes close to this. There is simply no denying the power and the influence of It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back. It's funny because I always thought this album played like a live concert. It feels like a live concert. In between a lot of the tracks are these interludes with, call and response, interplay with a live audience. And then I later came to find out that they actually kind of tailored this album for the road. They specifically wanted to record more up-tempo songs for this, their second album, because they had such enthusiastic response at their live shows. They wanted to make an album that they could really take on the road and perform as recorded. And so this really sounds like a live show. It has this great carnival party atmosphere. It's widely considered one of the greatest hip-hop albums of all time, for good reason. When they recorded this, they were on a mission. This isn't just one of these albums that, a band puts down and then they realize after the fact, wow, we made a masterpiece. No, they set out to make what they considered to be the sort of hip-hop equivalent of What's Going On by Marvin Gaye, really leaning in to the political and social commentary, a lot of Black Power commentary in here, a lot of references to the Black Panthers, particularly on the last track, which is devoted to them, Party for Your Right to Fight. Chuck D, the lead MC here, said that their mission in recording this was to, quote, kill the cold, getting dumb stuff and really address some situations. So they really wanted to bring hip hop into the mainstream in a way that was really urgent and relevant and that had something to say. And boy, did they execute. I mean, it is just a nonstop tour de force. Bring the noise, don't believe the hype, Night of the Living Bassheads, Black Steel in the Hour of Chaos, Rebel Without a Pause, Prophets of Rage, just so many amazing songs here. This album does, it can, I don't want to say wear on you, but it's a lot. It's a lot. There's about an hour of music here. There's 16 tracks. Like I said, there's this sort of live show dynamic that it has to it. It never slows down. It knows one speed, and that's go. And it's because they have so much to say. Like I said, this is really an artistic act of war. They are on such a mission. They are so driven. There is so much passion and conviction and urgency to all of these songs that even though it can get a tad repetitive, You feel like they just have so much to say that not a beat is wasted, not a line is wasted. You know what I feel like when I listen to this album? Because on my main show, my main gig, we interview a lot of left-wing activists. And when you interview somebody who is just so passionate about what they believe in and so passionate about what they're doing and have as much to say as a lot of these activists do. When you get them going in an interview, it can be almost impossible to slow them down. Right? You think 45 minutes into the interview, all right, it's going to be time to wrap it up. How do we do this? And you can't because they just care so much about what they're saying and they have so much of it to say that it just pours out of them. It just flows through them. That's what this album feels like. And so it's just a true masterpiece. The music itself is terrific, really danceable, really fun. The lyrics are great, the performance is great, and this album, more than any of the others on this list, has the X factor of just really being transcendent. This is bigger than a piece of music. This, like I said, has an urgency about it that is extremely rare, extremely rare. It's a landmark recording, and so it just had to be my number one. Public Enemies, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back. All right, so now we will go into some honorable mentions here. Like I said, 1988 was a big year for rap, and one of the runners up here has got to be NWA's Straight Outta Compton. This is similar to It Takes a Nation of Millions in a lot of ways. It's also different in some ways. Nation of Millions is, I just think, a little grander in its ambition. It really is more conceptual in its content, whereas NWA's Straight Outta Compton really kind of focuses on conveying a very political and dissident message. Obviously, fuck the police, right? Doesn't get more dissident than that. They convey it through scenes of everyday street life, which is great. Like I said, it's a great album. And musically, it's really terrific as well. Like I said, this is one that could definitely be on the list. It's just probably the sixth runner-up for me. These runner-ups are not necessarily in order, but really, really close. A lot of great stuff this year in both the rock world and the rap world. And so Straight Outta Compton, definitely worth an honorable mention. Another album that's worth an honorable mention is Daydream Nation by Sonic Youth. Sonic Youth is one of these bands that I kind of feel bad doesn't make a lot of these lists. Even looking forward, it's going to be hard to really rank them. That doesn't mean I don't like them. There's, some people are under the impression that if a band or an artist or an album doesn't make a list, it's because I don't like it. No, it's not because I don't like it. It's just because I don't feel strongly enough about it to monologue about it for 3 to 5 minutes and urge you to go listen to it. Sonic Youth, I find to be a very charming band. There's something very endearing about them, especially given the era in which they came up. They really stuck to their guns as a sort of DIY arena rock band, if you will. You can hear in a lot of the playing these ambitions of grandeur done sort of garage band style. And they kept getting better with each of their first few albums. 1987, they had a really good album out too called Sister. Didn't quite make the list or the mentions, but I like that quite a bit. This one is just a little tighter. It's a little more polished. The sound is just a little bit easier on the ears. I really like Teenage Riot, the opening track. I like Silver Rocket too. Looking at the track list here, Total Trash is fun. Hey Joni, Rain King, Kissability. Like I said, they're just really charming. There's something very sweet about this band, especially since they stuck to their guns during an era in which all of the incentives were to get a synth keyboard and put some really weird effects on your voice and see if you can bust down the door of the industry that way. They didn't. They made music on their own terms, and it's really fun. And so Daydream Nation is an album that I like quite a bit. Definitely worth, pardon me, an honorable mention. All right. The next two on the honorable mention lists are here because they have one song on them that I really, really love. Unfortunately, the rest of the albums here are just good. They're not great. But 1988's The Pogues, If I Should Fall from Grace with God, the sort of Celtic punk folk band, the Pogues. This has some good stuff on it. It's big. It's kind of an eclectic and kind of crazy hodgepodge of different styles here. There's a lot going on in this album. It's got a long track list and a long runtime. The title track is the opener. That's a fun one. Turkish Song of the Damned. That's kind of this like Irish slash Middle Eastern groove that they have going. And then they have a song called Fiesta, which is more of a Spanish influence. Like I said, the album is fun. I like the playing. I like Irish folk music. I like that sort of Irish punk kind of style. The album is a little all over the place, but its crown jewel is one of my favorite songs ever, my favorite Christmas song ever, and that is Fairy Tale of New York. Just an absolutely perfect, sublime, flawless song. You listen to that song, and me personally, I am transported to a dive bar in New York, surrounded by snow, trapped in with my friends from the old neighborhood with big hearts and bigger regrets. It's just so evocative. It's so emotional. It's so beautiful. The lyrical interplay between the sort of bitter, sort of feuding couple is just terrific. It's just an amazing song. I love it. The rest of the album is fun. Like I said, I do. It's not that I don't like the rest of the album. It's just the rest of the album doesn't even approach what Fairy Tale of New York is. But for that song alone, it is worth an honorable mention. Another album that I feel that way about is Vivid by Living Colour. First track off of here, terrific. Cult of Personality, what a song. That was an iconic song with a really great video as well. Another very socially conscious song. Just a great hard rock driving riff with terrific vocals by Corey Glover. I gotta admit here, full disclosure, there's a little bit of personal bias here since Corey Glover ended up settling down in the Hudson Valley and playing a lot of local gigs in Newburgh. I actually did some videography work and some editing work on a documentary in which he was one of the interview subjects, so I got to film an interview with him. Great down-to-earth guy, working musician, but this is a really, really fun album. Like I said, they're just very, very talented players. Glover's a great vocalist. Cult of Personality, far and away the key track here. That's just a terrific song. Unfortunately, the rest of the album doesn't quite live up to that song, but it's still fun. Like I said, it's still good. The playing and the vocals are still good enough to make this worth definitely a runner-up, an honorable mention. And then finally, as referenced in my last list, the 1987 list, we have U2's Rattle and Hum. It's funny, U2 releases the Joshua Tree and Rattle and Hum back-to-back years. I think Joshua Tree is one of their most overrated albums, and I think Rattle and Hum is perhaps one of their more underrated albums. I kind of think of both of these albums kind of equally. Now, Rattle and Hum is a combination live and studio album. It was released as a soundtrack to the rockumentary film of the same name. And yeah, it is a hodgepodge. It is kind of all over the place. It's a soundtrack album. They tend to be a little less coherent, which this certainly is. But you know what I like about this album? I like the singles. Like I said in the last video, U2 is really all about the hits. I don't find them to be a deep cut band. I don't think Bono is an interesting enough songwriter to really dig into the weeds and really comb through their catalog and find these hidden gem songs. No, what they feel good enough to put on the radio is, to me, the best stuff that they come out with. And I really like the singles off of this album. There's a decent amount of new studio material here, and I think a lot of it is quite good. I like the B.B. King collaboration, which is one of the singles, When Love Comes to Town. I think that sounds really good. Angel of Harlem. I love that song. I think it's a terrific song. Desire is a really good, fun song. And then All I Want Is You is one of the mellower ones. That kind of feels like it could have been a Joshua Tree outtake. That's more in the style of the Joshua Tree stuff. But that's a good song too. Then you have Love Rescue Me, which was the Bob Dylan collaboration. I think that works. And then, yeah, you have a couple of covers here. Helter Skelter is track one, and that is performed live. And Bono, before they even play a note, he makes a douche out of himself. He says, this is a song Charles Manson stole from the Beatles, and now we're stealing it back, right? What a douchey line. He's a douchey guy. He's a pompous, douchey guy. But you know what? The sort of bombastic quality of these songs is, to me, what is more in his wheelhouse. The cuts on here are much more sort of rhythm and blues and soul oriented. Obviously, there's a B.B. King collaboration here. Angel of Harlem is more of a kind of a soul song. Desire has a lot of that influence as well. And to me, Bono pulls that off because he's a great vocalist. Like, to me, Bono is a terrific vocalist. He's not a terrifically interesting artist or a terrifically interesting songwriter. So I think his talents line up more with songs like Angel of Harlem, Desire, and When Love Comes to Town than they do with songs like, Running to Stand Still on the Joshua Tree, or even like With or Without You. I just think a lot on this album really works. It's fun. It's all over the place. Not all of it is great, but it's good. I think the singles are very strong. In fact, I think the singles on this are stronger than the singles off the Joshua Tree for reasons that I just explained. And I know that is a minority opinion and a hot take, but hey, that's what you're here for. Am I right? So let's recap things. Let's just recap the top five here. Queensryche's Operation Mindcrime at number 5. Metallica's And Justice for All at number 4. Jane's Addiction, Nothing Shocking at number 3. Billy Bragg's Workers' Playtime coming in at number 2. And the number 1 album of 1988, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back by Public Enemy. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Please smash that subscribe button and keep a lookout for the next video. We will see you next time.